Good morning, sports fans. You're listening to 96.9 FM WHYR LP, Baton Rouge Community Radio.
This is Eric Hatfield along with Coach Perry Daniels, and we are here to bring you the latest, the greatest, the best, and the most entertaining in high school, college, and professional sports. You are listening to Louisiana All American Sports. Oh, yeah. Good morning. It is Saturday morning here in Baton Rouge. How y'all doing this morning? This is Eric Hatfield along with Coach Perry Daniels. You are listening to Louisiana All American Sports on 96.9 FM WHYR LP, Baton Rouge Community Radio. Good morning, Perry.
Good morning, Eric, man. It feels great to be back into the studio. We were live on location last Saturday.
Live. Oh, no.
Delayed.
Location. Thank you to all of you who tuned in last week and were able to deal with our makeshift studio circumstances. It was a bit of an echo chamber, kind of like the Rush Limbaugh show. But anyway, we're back. We're live. We're in the studio. 343-9927 is the number. 343-9927 if you want to get in on the action.
We've got some good stuff for you today. We've got high school football state championship results. We're going to transition a little bit into some high school basketball. It's starting to heat up in the local area and around the state. Then we're going to talk some Heisman Trophy candidates. That award is being issued tonight, Eric.
Oh, I can't wait. It's in the words of Bart Scott, former Jets player, can't wait.
Well, let's jump into the state championship results. Last night, the lone Baton Rouge area standee, the last one standing for an opportunity to win a state championship from the surrounding area of Baton Rouge, went down last night. Livonia ends their undefeated season with a loss, and they lose in double overtime in what looks to be a very great game. They lost to Union Parish, 33-27.
That's usually a factory up there in Union Parish.
Right. And a great year for Livonia. Never have they gone so deep into the state playoffs and make it to the state championship. So outstanding job, Livonia. Hopefully you guys can regroup next year,
right,
and make another run at it.
Do you know what the farthest is they've gone in the past?
No, I'm not sure, man. I'm going to have to research that and get back with our folks out there to let them know. Tonight, though, Eric, you've got East Jeff is playing for the state championship.
East Jeff. Now, who's East Jeff going up against?
They're playing Carr.
That is going to be a really good game. That's going to be a great game between two opponents, two schools that I think are similarly matched. Now that's got to be a select division game, right?
No, well, Carr is
because they select their student. I know they select their student enrollment.
Yeah, but obviously they rank them non-select, so they must have enough local enrollments, sort of like McKinley is here in Baton Rouge.
Right.
You know, they must have enough of local area students to where they're still considered.
I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
Zone kids.
Yeah, most of their folks do come from the West Bank in the New Orleans area, so that doesn't surprise me.
Right. So that should be a fantastic matchup tonight. In Class 1A, last night Haynesville defeated Mangum 42-21. Remember, Mangum is the guys that eliminated both White Castle
Right.
and West St. John.
Boy, Mangum was playing that game with a magnum. Platoon. They took out some good opponents throughout the entire postseason.
They did, but they fell last night to Haynesville 42-21.
Haynesville, I'm going to guess that Haynesville is somewhere north of Alexandria. I have no idea. I'm just kind of taking a guess.
Yes, somewhere near the Arkansas border.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. What is in the water in that part of the state? Because they just, no matter what, except for John Curtis, and we'll talk about them in a moment, it seems like anything and everything that we can produce south of Louisiana's Mason-Dixon line, if you will, just gets destroyed in the finals by those schools.
And you know what? I thought that we really played football down here in South Louisiana.
I think that's all they do is play football up there. Gotta be.
Yes, must be. Let's transition into the U-High John Curtis football game.
Well, yeah, Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, John Curtis played University High School right here in Baton Rouge for the Division II Select School Championship. If you want to get in on the action, a comment 343-9927, 343-9927. I was able to listen to it live, courtesy of John Curtis's broadcast team, which was their internet presentation was powered by the iHi application. But special thanks to the John Curtis folks for going to the Superdome and braving the weekday rush hour traffic and getting there and delivering that to high school football heads like ourselves. Well, you know, John Curtis delivered the broadcast, and I got to say it was a very home-friendly broadcast as they talked about their accolades. It seemed like they were there for a coronation. The score was 12-0 at the half, and then it just seemed like U-High could never get anything going. John Curtis then piled up some more points, 19-0. At 25-0, it was just kind of hard to take. It was late in the fourth quarter. I actually don't have the final score in front of me, but I feel 100% comfortable knowing John Curtis won that game, and they won it very, very handily.
They did.
The big Patriot machine rolls on. That's about what I could say about them. Still, an excellent season for U-High. As we talked about a couple of weeks ago, Baton Rouge schools do not necessarily advance that far, and especially not in great quantity, in the playoffs. So, I mean, still a great job. And when you run against John Curtis, I believe, these are unofficial numbers, ladies and gentlemen, but I believe that is the announcer for John Curtis said that was their 26th championship, and I believe that was 18 consecutive championships.
I believe that is correct.
Won by John Curtis. So U-High, you have nothing. Obviously, you have nothing to be ashamed of. Disappointing. I don't know if they were blanked or not, if they were shut out. There wasn't much time left when I stopped listening. That's tough. But outstanding season for U-High. Outstanding season for Nick Brosette. We're looking forward to seeing him at LSU in a couple of years.
And those of you listening around the country, U-High has a high-profile quarterback by the name of Leslie Miles.
Yeah. And in case you're wondering, that sounds like something else from Baton Rouge. Yeah, that's Coach Les Miles of the LSU football Tigers. That's Coach Les Miles' son. And he was in there, and, he had a tough time. I mean, every time I listened to a description of that game from the announcers, he was being bullied. It was rough. I mean, It was rough. It's John Curtis. It's real.
Right.
So anyway, we're going to take a very, very brief intermission. We'll be back momentarily. Give us about 90 seconds as we are going to bring you just a preview of what's to come. We have, of course, today is a very special day in college football because it's the Army-Navy game. And the Heisman Trophy is being awarded this evening. We're going to discuss the Heisman Trophy race. Of course, we have some NFL action that we'd like to discuss, as well as other professional sports. If you want to get on the action, 225-343-9927, 225-343-9927. This is Coach Perry Daniels and Eric Hatfield on the Louisiana All American Sports Show on 96.9 FM, Baton Rouge Community Radio. Okay, we are back on Louisiana All American Sports. We're live. You should be live.
Fantastic. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can.
All right, you are live on the radio, WHYR LP, Baton Rouge Community Radio. Hey, listening fans out there, we've got on the telephone the 2013 11 and 12-year-old youth national champion head football coach. Right there out of Hammond, Louisiana. He's the head coach of the Hammond Tornadoes. That is Chip McCraney. Chip, welcome to the show.
Hey, how we doing?
We're doing fantastic, man. If you could kind of tell us, you took your team down to Orlando and competed for the national championship. If you could tell us who you guys played.
Okay, well, just a small correction. It was Daytona Beach.
Oh, Daytona Beach. All right,
yeah.
Okay.
Daytona Beach, and we played a team from Ohio and a team from Florida.
All right, and obviously you won both of those games. Can you provide us the score?
The first game was 40-0, and the second game was 26-6.
Fantastic, man. Hey, Chip, tell us kind of who are some of the outstanding players for those Hammond Tornadoes.
Well, man, I'm gonna tell you, it's more of a team. I'm gonna tell you, man, we got about 4 different backs that we gave the ball to, and all was very productive. And we just had outstanding plays from the line. So it's very hard to pull one. did have a guy that's not returning. His name is Isaiah Simpson. He's definitely a standout, and I believe he's going to be a great football player someday. Our quarterback, Tyler Finley, he has one more year, but right now he's maturing.
Okay.
So I mean, if you just look around, man, it was a big team effort, man. It's like these guys played better than I've ever seen them play before.
That is awesome, man. And you and I talked earlier this week, and you kind of shared with me some of the reactions of the opposing coaches that you played. If you could just share with our listening audience some of the comments that the opposing coaches made about your team.
Oh man, well back here I think we came in third place in our division here in Louisiana, but like I say, man, these guys took their game to another level when they got to Florida, man, and the team from Ohio, they was like, man, if y'all came in third place, we'd hate to see what the first place team looked like. and the team from Florida, man, I'm gonna tell you, they were 14-1 coming into the game.
Okay.
They actually came in second place playing. We played for the championship. When we went to the award ceremony, they only had 5 players to show up. I mean, so they really thought that they were supposed to win it all.
Wow.
But I will tell you, like I mean, my kids, they were unbelievable.
Okay. Now here on the Louisiana All American Sports radio show, Chip, we've talked a little bit about how youth coaches are responsible for creating the raw goods, if you will, for the NFL in the future. And there's been a lot of talk regarding head injuries in the game of football, and possibly a lot of moms pulling their kids out of youth football because of that. If you can kind of share with us, has your coaching style changed over the last 5 or so years since we've gained all this information regarding head injuries?
Well, Barry, man, I'm gonna tell you, and when I played sports, we had a coach that taught us the proper way to tackle, the proper way to run the ball, and things like that. And that's been with me since I started with Little Conference football. And we teach proper technique, and one is not to duck your head, one is not to use the crown of your head, but to use bow your neck, put your face up, and make a tackle, which prevents head injury. And it's amazing because we now have to certify with USA Football.
Oh, as a coach.
As a coach.
Awesome.
Yes. And part of that certification is concussion training.
Yes.
And the proper way of tackling and all of those things were the same things that I learned back in high school. The same thing that I've been teaching my kids for the last 10 so years. I won't even let my kids, we can't go live or go into a scrimmage game without going over proper techniques at least 2 weeks.
That is awesome, man. Great job, Chip. Congratulations on your national championship. The 11 and 12-year-old youth national champions right here out of Hammond, Louisiana. Great job, man. Thank you for joining us on the show. I'll talk to you later on next week.
All right, man. Thanks for giving us a shout out, man.
Take care.
Anytime, bro. You have a good one.
No problem. You too, Chip.
Thank you, my man.
All right, that was really awesome. I'll tell you, it really warms my heart, so to speak, to see coaches like Chip who really know the proper way to lead these soon-to-be young men, and not only do it properly and do it successfully.
That's right.
That's what coaching's supposed to be.
And it's good to hear that there's a national organization out there certifying coaches.
That's right.
I think that's one of the issues with AAU basketball.
Oh my God, that's when anybody off the street can just roll in.
Right, anybody can coach, you know.
Yeah.
And they don't have health issues, you know. They don't have brain trauma issues.
Right.
But, you know, the game is suffering. The game of basketball is suffering because anybody can roll out of bed and go be a coach.
And it's kind of, you know, it would be kind of funny if there weren't potential for abuses. I remember a couple of years ago when you and I were kind of when Louisiana All American Sports was covering the Summer League tournament. I cannot remember the title of it. I think what was it, the Red Stick Basketball Throwdown, something like that.
Yes.
Anyway, I remember
Family Christian.
That's right. That's right. The Family Christian Academy.
Yes.
And I remember Coach Jamie Holmes helped make that possible in part. But I remember this. There's a local talent. His name is Coco Simmons. I believe he plays for Bruley, somewhere across the river.
Yes, he did.
It is Bruley. Okay. And anyway, I saw the coach, and this coach, I mean, bless his heart, but he looked like he could have been an extra in an urban movie like Boys in the Hood or Menace to Society. Had gold chains on, gold teeth.
Yes.
And I'm getting rosters for these guys. I said, so Coach, can I get some names of your players? He's like, hey, what's your name, Coco? Sir, do we have a last name for Coco? Hey, what's your last name? I'm like, oh my God, this is a coach, you know? And I mean,
and we end up having to give that team some uniforms.
That's
to
right.
play.
That's right. They didn't even have uniforms. And the sad thing is these are the people who are probably their best options for role models or caretakers or people to look after them in their spare time.
Right.
But that's the ilk you have at the AAU circuit. I mean, clearly no knowledge in coaching, and I'm not gonna toot my own horn too much, but I remember Coach Daniels was was the offensive coordinator at Madison Prep Academy football, and I kind of threw in my 2 cents, which was to help out with the kicking game, and just to do that I had to take a course that took me 2-3 days to finish, and that was to volunteer my time.
Right.
That was to volunteer my time.
Oh, Louisiana High School has it right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they don't play, man. I mean, they don't play at all. So I think that's great that there's more regulation coming on. I mean, not onerous, it's not unreasonable, it's just to make sure that people whose hearts are in the right places and whose minds have the proper tools and background and knowledge are doing this with these kids, with these young people.
That's right, because they are our future and they are precious, and it's more important than the results of the game.
So let's move along. Speaking of young people, speaking of young adults, like I said, we have a big college football event today. Besides the Army-Navy football game in Philadelphia, we have the Heisman Trophy presentation.
Eric, before we go there, can we talk couple of high school basketball games real quick?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And one of which Louisiana High School, Louisiana All American Sports covered, which was the great game between the Port Allen Pelicans and the Christian Life Crusaders.
That was a fantastic contest earlier this week. First thing I noticed that it was Tuesday, and there had to be at least 500 people at the gym at Port Allen High School, and it was miserable, and it was cold, and it was wet. That's pretty healthy attendance for midweek, and it wasn't all students. There was a lot of the community that came out there, which is fantastic. And Coach Ricard, head coach of the Pelicans, was a very gracious host, just rolled out the red carpet for us, really, and we're very thankful for that. And we were treated to a fantastic game. Now, before the game started, there was a presentation to their fine point guard, Nick Parker, who had eclipsed the 2,000-point mark earlier this season. He's an outstanding young man. He also, I noticed during the presentation, has a 3.7 GPA. That's hard to do, really, period, let alone if you're excelling at that level at high school basketball.
Hey, man, the young man, not only that, let me tell you, not only is Nick Parker a great student athlete, but he's got two older brothers that play college athletics. Both of them play football, one at the University of Tulane.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And one at Nicholls State.
Wow.
And all three are sons of Coach Parker,
right,
assistant coach
That's
for
right.
the Port Allen Pelicans. So that family has just done a fantastic job raising young scholar athletes.
They come from great stock.
They do.
I was talking about this with somebody earlier this week. Some people are just exceptional people. I mean, you look at people who are great athletes and good students, and then, you know, those who are fortunate enough to make it to the pros go out and still do great things in the community and in the game. You know, people like Boomer Esiason and Terry Bradshaw, those folks come to mind. Guys like Marshall Faulk, you know, some people are just exceptional people.
That's right.
You know, and they just excel. So
that's right. And Coach Parker seems to fall in that category.
Absolutely.
You know.
But we had a basketball game to play.
Yes.
And Christian Life they actually have several standouts, but the biggest standout was Jonathan Stove of Christian Life. He's already committed to University of Louisiana Lafayette, and he was an outstanding talent, and it wound up being a mano-a-mano battle indirectly between Nick Parker and Jonathan Stove. And I didn't have official statistics, but Stove had definitely at least 20 points, might have been close to 30 that night. Nick Parker was dropping dimes and putting balls in the hole. So it was really an exciting game. Port Allen fell way behind early.
Yes.
They fell way behind early. They were down 15, it was either 15-6 or 15-4 at the end of the first period. And I was like, I was thinking to myself, this is kind of, this would be a heck of a way for your unbeaten streak to get stopped to start the season.
Right.
But Port Allen rallied back, and they had a roar in the third quarter, putting up 22 points. By the fourth quarter, they had, you know how it happens in basketball. They were able to get a multi-possession lead, about 4 points, and Christian Life had to press a little more, and they got more points, and then Port Allen was able to score more points, and Christian Life pressed a little more, and before you knew it, it was a foul shooting contest, and Port Allen pulled away and won that game, extended their record to 9-0 against a very good Christian Life team, which lost. They said the coaches were telling me that was their third straight loss after a 5-0 start. That had to be a hard way to lose, to go on the road against a really good team like that,
right,
in their building, have it in your hands, and just have Coach Ricard and Nick Parker and Nigel Allen and all those guys just rip it away. So, great job, great game.
Great job, Pelicans. We had an interview with Coach Nick Parker. We're unable to get to that today. We apologize for that. But hopefully Nick did say that he would make his announcement of which college he's going to choose, and he will notify Louisiana All American Sports. And possibly he may do it right here on this radio show, Eric. Now, the deal is, as they're winning, those television stations get involved.
Right, right. Build it up.
Right. So we can't blame the guy if he chooses to do it on television as opposed to on the radio show.
Right.
But, you're always welcome here, Nick, if you're willing to do that. A couple of other games. Notable games in high school basketball in the local area. There's the Charles Kinsley tournament going on right now, and in the semifinals yesterday, the U-High Cubs beat the Central Wildcats 58-29, and in the second game, the Scotlandville Hornets beat the McKinley Panthers, and that final score was 66-42, which anytime McKinley loses, that hurts, man, unless they're playing the new school that I coach for. But McKinley lost last night, and they lost pretty big. That's kind of amazing to me as I see their size. They're such a big, intimidating team.
Yeah.
And for those of you that aren't quite familiar, I am now an assistant coach with the Bel Air Bengals here in the Baton Rouge area, and we played Scotlandville the game before this McKinley game, man, and we had them on the ropes, Eric.
Whoa!
We really did. The game went into the fourth quarter tie.
Go ahead, Bengals.
Well, we ended up losing by 14.
Well, yeah, that's kind of like losing to Curtis.
Right.
You lose to Scotlandville,
Right.
tied in the fourth quarter. That's a moral victory.
Right.
I'm going to modify my stance. I always say there are no moral victories in sports. In high school sports and below, there are moral victories, and that is a moral victory.
Well, we're not in the moral victories at Bel Air. Well, we're trying to get out of being in the moral victories at Bel Air. But I said that to say that looking at McKinley's size and talent, I would have thought that they would have played Scotlandville in a much closer game.
Right.
I'm just disappointed in that final score there. So, anyway, enough of high school sports. Let's move on. Let's talk Famous Jameis and the rest of the finalists for the Heisman Trophy which will be issued tonight.
All right, so Downtown Athletic Club, New York City, it's the 2013 presentation of the Heisman Trophy. We can... I almost don't know where to start, Perry, because honestly, I think it's going to be the kind of like the Division II playoff game was, Division II championship game between U-High and John Curtis. I kind of feel like it's a race for second place because I think it's a foregone conclusion that Jameis Winston is going to run away with the Heisman. It could be one of the most lopsided contests ever. If it's not, we can get on another sidebar of why it might not be. But as far as what we saw in the field, it's just not even close. And I've talked about, I've talked about. I'm not going to say I have a man crush on the guy, but I've talked about Johnny Football every week. Partly because he's an SEC guy, and partly because he's just a heck of a talent. And Johnny Football, I got to say, has just been surpassed pretty much by famous Jameis this week. I'm not going to break into a tune and sing Johnny Football to the tune of Johnny Angel like you heard going around the internet, but I wish him well, and he's been a joy to watch for the last 2 years. I'm pretty sure he's gone, but this is going to be all about Jameis Winston, Florida State, and the ACC tonight. Yeah,
the only suspense that seems to be left is, will he break Troy Smith's record of the widest margin of victory for the Heisman Trophy?
I think we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out.
But let's go through the finalists one by one, because I think just to get there, even if you're one of the 6 best college football players in the country, that is one heck of an honor. I'm going to start off with one that he said something that I frankly thought was moderately controversial earlier this week. Jordan Lynch, who is a fine quarterback for Northern Illinois and who's had them right in the talks of BCS bowl games really all season and even going back to last season. First, let's go down his profile. 2,676 yards, 23 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and he's run for 1,881 yards and 22 touchdowns on the ground. Now, of course, you always adjust for the fact that NIU plays in the MAC and not in a BCS conference, but you know what? You can strip those numbers down, divided by 2, 3, 4, whatever you want. That's pretty impressive. Jordan Lynch is a fine talent, and the NFL guys have got their eyes on him.
And I was just about to say that. Those are the type of guys that end up taking their team to the playoffs next year. And then we as a public say, wow, where'd this guy come from?
Wait, you said taking their teams where?
To the playoffs.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs?
Are you kidding me?
Playoffs?
Had to throw that in. I'm sorry, Perry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, but, that's the type of guy. Because he plays in a high-profile conference, he's under the radar on the national scale.
Right.
But obviously the young man has all the talent to put up those type of numbers.
Absolutely. Jordan Lynch said something on the Jim Rome show earlier this week, I believe it was on Thursday, that kind of, it definitely took me, and I think it took a lot of the Jim Rome listeners aback. I don't know how much run it got around the country, but Jim Rome flat out said, why should you win the Heisman Trophy? And he went into his outstanding performance on the field, obviously, but he also said, I'm a leader on the field. You don't hear about any off-the-field issues with me. And he didn't mention any names, but you'd have to be blind, deaf, and dumb to not know what that was a reference to.
Yeah, but you know what? He's wrong. The off the field is not what this award is about. I understand that it talks about integrity in the award and high character. I get that. But it's on-field performance. It's on-field performance, and if your character is good enough for you to be on the field,
right,
then that's what counts.
I completely agree. So Jordan Lynch threw that little haymaker in there. That could be, you never know with the 24-hour news cycle. That's a little clip that could be taken down the line 3-4 years in the NFL. The media could package that in some kind of rivalry. You never know.
That's right.
Moving on though, the next gentleman I'd like to talk about, my man Johnny Football. Johnny Manziel. Let me tell you, Johnny Manziel, Perry, for a long time this year, I really thought had a serious shot of matching Archie Griffin as a 2-time Heisman winner. He was playing. Well, first of all, let's go over his stat line. 270 for out of 391 for 3,732 yards. I've got pretty decent math skills. Eyeballing it, that's got to be over 70%. 33 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 686 yards, and 8 touchdowns on the ground. This guy, like I said, the guy I keep comparing him to is Michael Vick. I've not seen a talent like this with his arms and his legs as an athlete since Michael Vick back at Virginia Tech in the late 90s.
Yeah, the only question regarding this guy at the next level, man, is his size.
Right, which is legit, much like Vick.
Right. So we'll see how he translates into an NFL quarterback. Hopefully, for all you SEC fans out there, he's out of here.
Right.
We'll be back next year.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that people will wish him well, even put in a chip in to help him move.
Right.
But yeah, I'll tell you what, man. Johnny Manziel was rocking and rolling, and then he came to Tiger Stadium and faced LSU. Well. And for the second year in a row, the LSU Tigers put it hard to Johnny Football. Really pulled off a little bit of an upset because LSU was really sliding at that point, and I think that kind of shook him up and gave him a little wake-up call to get the team back where they needed to be. And then they faced Missouri the following week. And while they did put up over 20 points and have a close game, the bottom line is the Missouri Tigers bottled him up enough to win that game. And you don't see that every day. I do think those last two performances, combined with the fact that Texas A&M is not going to really be in the BCS Bowl picture, I think was what torpedoed his shot at a second straight Heisman. But great job. I'm looking forward to, congratulations. Good job. Way to represent the SEC well.
Speaking of the Missouri Tigers, man, we got to recap the SEC championship.
Oh, we sure can. And that actually brings me to our next Heisman finalists. Auburn's Trey Mason, running back. Let me tell you guys, for those of you maybe not too familiar with Auburn, maybe you guys just bleed purple and gold and only listen to the stuff on the periphery, but Trey Mason has done an outstanding job all year. He's been an outstanding running back all year. I've mentioned his name at least twice on this show before when we're wrapping up college football games. But there are a lot of good running backs. There are a lot of guys put up 1,000 yards. But last week, Trey Mason went legend mode and with one performance, thrust himself to a crowded field of excellent running backs to a Heisman finalist, over 300 yards rushing in that marathon against Missouri. I believe he had 39 carries. I don't remember the exact stat. It was just a yeoman, workman, workhorse, pick an adjective for power and torque and all that. It was just an outstanding performance that we'll see replayed for years to come.
But it was against who?
The Missouri Tigers.
Right.
The Missouri Tigers, who have such a vaunted defense and can stuff anybody, according to our friend Derek Thomas out of Atlanta. Just kidding, Derek. Appreciate all you did for us last week. Had to throw that in there, but I told you so.
It's coming up.
Yep. Trey Mason, though, you look at his season stat line. Look, he's not going to win this tonight, but he deserves that trip to New York. This guy, 283 carries on the season. In contrast, if you have an NFL player with approaching 300 carries, that's in a 16-game schedule, you're saying that guy got worked pretty hard. This is 12 games plus the SEC championship, 283 carries, 1,621 yards, 22 touchdowns. He also caught 11 passes this year. I'm really glad he's gotten some recognition because I've noticed him every week, but it's been kind of quiet until last week, and that quietness became a quiet storm and then a loud thunderstorm.
Right. We got to run through these last three, man, if we're going to have time to get to all of our stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. A.J. McCarron, quarterback, University of Alabama. Y'all probably know that name. 2,600 yards this year, 26 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Of course, he led Alabama to an SEC championship and a national championship last year. Outstanding guy. I think this is more of a lifetime achievement award for McCarron. He kind of had a chance of slipping in at the last minute with the Jameis Winston talks. We didn't know where that was going, and if he was plucked from the equation, you kind of had a lot of possibility for him to kind of just slip in as a lifetime achiever. You know, you had Johnny Manziel was kind of trembling a little bit there, but I think some of the others have stepped up that will take second place, but well-deserved.
McCarron won the Quarterback of the Year award.
Good for him.
He did.
Good for him.
And he swears that his head coach isn't going anywhere.
Actually, we have an update. I don't know if you saw the news overnight, but Nick Saban did sign an extension with Alabama, so he is staying, and I'm not surprised. I'm really not.
Why would you go why would you leave the SEC?
Why would you leave the SEC? And if you want to be the grand poobah of college coaching, I mean, he's 62 years old. And that's by today's standards, that's much younger than it was many years ago. It's not like when the Bear was 62, but still, it's going to be a bit of a rebuild mode. And quite frankly, Mac Brown is going to go kicking and screaming. And at this point, I think Mac Brown is Texas' best option.
I don't think so. I don't think Mac Brown is Texas' best option. I just don't think Nick Saban was ever seriously considering leaving Alabama.
He said something I found poignant. He said, a quote, "I'm too damn old to start over again, and Terry is happy here in Tuscaloosa." Terry is happy. Happy wife, happy life.
Right.
That's all you need to know.
And notice he said Terry was happy in Tuscaloosa because he knows nothing about Tuscaloosa, the city itself. The man is so dedicated and focused to what he does that he probably never gets out in the town.
That man lives in his office. And the next finalist, the fifth finalist, is Andre Williams, Boston College. He's a guy who was making a lot of rumblings. He's another one when kind of the Jameis Winston stuff was unfolding and you thought Winston might have been plucked from consideration. He really has been making a lot of noise. He had 2,100 yards rushing this season and 17 touchdowns. I'll tell you, the only thing that even drew Williams into contrast was Trey Mason, because Andre Williams until last week was the only running back who was making any kind of waves at all.
Eric, every other running back that has rushed for over 2,000 yards has won the Heisman.
Yeah, until you get to this brother right here, Jameis Winston, Florida State University. Remember, Florida State has only played 13 games, including their championship game against Duke this year. 13 games, 3,820 yards passing. That's an impressive NFL stat over 16 games, okay?
Yes, it is.
3,800 yards, 38 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 4 touchdowns on the ground. Just ridiculous. I mean, it's like a video game watching this kid every week. And this was in spite of some potential distractions with the investigation, and I won't go into any more details on that because it doesn't deserve it. He didn't do anything. The cops decided he didn't do anything wrong, but he even got got sharper and more focused, and tells me football's his sanctuary. This guy is going to win tonight. And when you just put up stat lines like that, and you start blowing people to smithereens, and you bring the ACC and Florida State back into relevance, they're now one win away from a national championship. To me, it's a slam dunk. It's a no-brainer.
Right. So
yeah.
Enough said.
Yeah. So those are our 6 Heisman candidates. We dropped a little hint earlier about Missouri. How last week we said we didn't think Missouri was as good as, quote unquote, good as their defense was, and the SEC least. How we didn't think they were going to bottle up Auburn. We told Mr. Thomas, I told you so. And now here's an opportunity to hear where I told you so.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say will happen when I told you? Exactly what just happened.
Well, here we go. We'll go off with the Missouri Tigers and Auburn. They're giving Missouri Tigers 2 points. But you got to realize, that would be by a field goal. Missouri's only lost this because their field goal kicker is no good. So we're going to go ahead and take Missouri, but we're going to assume that they're going to win on the money line.
No.
So due to the fact that the Saints look so bad and Cam Newton been looking so good, they're giving Cam Newton, they're giving them 3 points. I'm going to take Carolina. You know me. I'm from the Southern University, so I'm going with the Jaguars. The University, we're going to win the game against Auburn, at least by 10 points.
So I don't think Missouri's as battle-tested as Auburn, having played LSU, having played Ole Miss when they were ranked, having played Georgia, having played Alabama. I just think that Auburn is a better team, quite frankly.
And I agree with you, man. I think they're more battle-tested.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see. I'm going to go, those are my picks, the Saints. This week, Auburn and Southern.
All right, I got I agree, Southern Jaguars. I've got the Auburn Tigers, Saints on Sunday, so we're pretty much lining up ACC championship, I'm picking Florida State. That should come as a surprise to nobody.
Oh, there's a big surprise!
Florida State.
Big Ten championship, I'm going to go with Ohio State reluctantly, but I will tell you after watching them struggle with Michigan last week, and Michigan State has a strong ground game, anything can happen, but Ohio State, they are very solid under center. Braxton Miller and Kenny Guyton, either one who happens to be in the game, they can be really destructive. So I like the Buckeyes in the Big Ten championship.
I think the Spartans are going to get the upset there and going to kind of solidify the national talks on who plays in that national game. And I do think it'll be Auburn and Florida State.
I'd love for you to be able to tell me I told you so.
I told you.
I'd love to just be rid of Ohio State for good. 343-9927, 343-9927 if you'd like to get on the conversation here on Louisiana All American Sports. Well, somehow I end up bringing animal humor and cats and felines and everything, and we definitely want to talk about a couple of cats before we move on to the guys who get paid. Big congratulations to the Southern Jaguars. We broadcasted the SWAC championship game between the Southern Jaguars and Jackson State Tigers live on LouisianaAllAmericanSports.com last week, and you can find a replay of the audio broadcast either at LouisianaAllAmericanSports.com or if you go to YouTube and Google Louisiana All-American Sports SWAC Championship or some derivative of that, you should find the recap of that game. But excellent game overall.
That was a fantastic football game.
It was fan. If you're a fan of sport, you cannot. I had a great time following, covering. I was pleasantly surprised, Perry.
Yeah.
I really am. I mean, I always say, I went to LSU. I'm kind of immersed in the big-time college football, but I was really impressed probably by my first broadcast of a college game and really my first experience of HBCU football since I was in college, really.
And you know what, though, Eric? Those games between those two institutions normally go that way.
Right.
They're always good football games, man, and they come down to the last second. This one happened to go into double overtime.
Right.
What I really found interesting, man, because we were credentialed as media,
right.
The press conference, for those of you that are unaware, Jackson State has a quarterback. Say that again.
Perry's trying to be nice. They had a white guy quarterback, Connor Morgan, talented kid too.
Very talented young man, and to hear him talk about his HBCU experience, going to a historically black college, being the quarterback at a historically black college, that was awesome. I felt.
And I liked what he said. He said, I think I want to say it was the best year of my life.
Right.
Open quote unquote. Now we have all the post game coverage on the YouTube upload.
Yes.
You can hear that yourself. But I was impressed with how he played. I was impressed with his leadership. I was impressed with the diversity. I mean, we always talk about, you might hear that old joke about what do you call a white guy surrounded by 10 black guys? The quarterback. Ha ha ha.
Oh,
well,
wow. Oh, Eric, I can't believe you went there. Wow.
But I say all that to say.
Yes.
I remember many years ago, the Bayou Classic, that both Southern and Grambling had white quarterbacks, and there was nobody else on the field. Well, you saw a lot of diversity.
Yes.
Just the eye test. You saw a lot of hues.
Yes.
A lot. It was like the United Colors of Benetton. Both punters, both special teams players, came from. They weren't black players. It wasn't an all-black team. I saw a couple of tight ends and receivers. You saw a diverse team.
And you know what?
Diversity.
And that's one of the beauties of sports. Not only in HBCU, the SWAC conference,
right.
MEAC conference. You also see it in the SEC, the Big Ten. The best player should play the position.
That's right.
Regardless of color.
Right.
So it's awesome to see. It was great to see that young man. Coach Dawson Odoms for the Southern University Jaguars is now talking extension with the Jaguar administration. His alma mater, North Carolina Central, came calling, trying to steal him away from Southern.
You heard that. So Jaguar Nation, you guys have you have an asset, a valuable asset.
That's
there.
right. So we don't want to diminish the Jaguar accomplishment by talking strictly about the Jackson State quarterback, but both institutions did a great job, and we were proud as Louisiana All American Sports to be able to cover that.
I really was. And just talking about Dawson Odoms, I really loved, you saw Dre Joseph, the quarterback. They also had their linebacker, their fine senior linebacker, Captain
Balancier.
Mr. That's right, Balancier. Anthony, was it Anthony?
Yes,
Balancier in there. You could just tell this was a team they liked. They liked doing what they did. They liked playing for Coach Odoms. They liked playing for each other. I was really impressed with what I saw. I really enjoyed it. Great job, Coach Odoms. Great job, Jaguar Nation. Congratulations.
You are the 2013 SWAC champions.
And we have a special guest that we left on hold in between that last break. It's funny. We have a lot of retired NFL coaches. I guess they must surf the web and like listening to our show.
They like listening to our show, Eric.
Yeah, we had former New Orleans Saints head coach Jim Moore Sr. Calling a few times. And now we have Coach Dennis Green on the line. And actually, in talking to Dennis Green during the hold sequence, Dennis Green, former coach of the Minnesota Vikings and Arizona Cardinals, and outstanding job at Stanford in the early 90s. Coach Green actually just has a fondness for the Missouri Tigers and Coach Gary Pinkel. He was rooting for those underdogs. Coach Green, thanks for joining us today. Can you give us your 2 cents on the SEC championship game?
But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
Well, thank you, Coach. Missouri was who we thought they were, and they did let Auburn off the hook. Thank you, Coach Green, for joining us on Louisiana All American Sports. 343-9927, 343-9927 if you'd like to get in on the action. And now let's talk about the big boys who get paid, the National Football League. The New Orleans Saints faced the Carolina Panthers last week. They'd taken a butt whooping, a shellacking, a beat down, whatever you want to call it. They got clobbered by the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football the week prior to last week. They had a crucial matchup with the Carolina Panthers in the Superdome, and they had the eyes of the nation upon them as they went on to Sunday Night Football. A lot of speculation. You have some of the ESPN guys picking Carolina, even though the Saints had not lost a game in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in 3 years, and they put a whopping on the Carolina Panthers to extend their record to 10-3, drop Carolina to 9-4. Now the Saints are in the driver's seat in the NFC South Division.
They are. Eric, before I comment on the New Orleans Saints, I think we need to let the people out there know what's coming up next, man. Right after our show here, Louisiana All American Sports Radio Show, right here on 96.9 WHYR LP. Right after this, you will have
Noel Jackson. Music Satisfaction.
All right, now, let's get into those Saints, man. They really, again, they look like world beaters there in that Superdome, man. But just as we saw Thursday night, Eric, home winning streaks come to an end. Sometimes when teams look really, really unbeatable at home, they can be upset.
Well, the San Diego Chargers, man. They came in. First of all, they were desperate. I mean, they were 5-7, I believe. They were circling the drain. They were pretty much in a must-win situation there in San Diego, and they came out with 6-7. I'm sorry. They needed to win that game. And you know what? Phillip Rivers, who's been thrown under the bus the last couple of years with North Turner, he is quietly having an excellent year. He doesn't have a whole lot around him, and the defense has a lot of growing up to do with Manti Te'o and some of that bunch. But they came out and they put it to the Denver Broncos. 27-20 was the final, but that's very misleading.
Right.
They were hammering the Broncos the whole time, and Peyton Manning rallied. You're never going to shut him out. Put up a couple of touchdowns late.
Right, but not to jump off of the Saints. They got a game coming up. Are we ready to go into this week's game with the Saints?
Oh, yeah, the Saints do have a game coming up, and actually the Fox Sports team has moved this game to the 3 o'clock slot, which just goes to show you how much respect they have because their opponent ain't the greatest team in the world. The Saints have got a...
I'm wondering if the Saints canceled practice this week because of the team that they're playing.
Oh, I don't think so. Because I'll tell you what, you got to go to the Lou. Going to be hanging out with Nelly and the St. Lunatics. Now,
And the Fixer,
that's right. Oh, they got to go up there and they face the St. Louis Rams at 3 o'clock, 3:25 our time. They play the Rams. The Rams, look, in 2011, the Rams beat the Saints. They came dangerously close to snapping Drew Brees' consecutive touchdown streak. He had a cheapie at the end that was set up by a weird turnover or a penalty, and really the Saints had gotten blown out, and the Rams were very bad that year. They're 5-8 right now, but the Saints were 13-3 that year. The Rams handed us one of those 3 losses in the Trans World Dome.
Right.
So look, St. Louis has a very good defense and very good coaching in Jeff Fisher. Obviously, they don't have their quarterback. They're rolling in with Kellen Clemens. That running back by committee is stinks to high heaven. I think the Saints should go in and win that game, but I do think the Rams are going to make them sweat a little bit.
Do you?
I do. I think they're going to win, but I think the Rams are going to. That defense is good, Perry. I think they're going to make us work for it.
No, man. I've watched the Rams play from what I could stomach, this year.
They have a lot of close losses.
They do, Eric. And that's because Jeff Fisher is one of the best coaches in the NFL.
I agree with that. Totally agree with that.
And, but there's the Rams?
Yeah, I hear you. Excuse me. Moving down the NFL list, there are a few games on the menu that warrant some attention. The New England Patriots going down to South Beach to play the Miami Dolphins. Now, the first thing that when you hear New England and Miami, the neurons in your head might be, oh, come on, that's going to be that should be no contest. But New England over the years, during the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick regime, has had trouble with the Dolphins. I'm sure the travel has something to do with it. It is hot in Miami, even in December. It's kind of like a warm weather team or a dome team going up north. But here's the thing: even in years past, when Miami's been abysmal, one of the top 5 picks in the draft, well, Miami's 7-6. They're right in the thick of the wild card race this year. They would only be out of the wild card race by a tiebreaker with Baltimore right now, so they're right in it. And New England has to go down there. And Rob Gronkowski, the fine tight end for the New England Patriots, is out for the season now. So Tom Brady is going to have to make miracles like he always makes.
Yeah, those rivalry games in the NFL, they're always a pick 'em.
Right.
You never really know what's going to happen, what motivates the guys to play better than they normally play. But I think in this particular case, the Miami Dolphins feel like that's their division. Historically, they dominated the division until Belichick.
Yeah, 70s, 80s, and the 90s, they kind of shared. The Bills maybe dominated a little more, but Miami was right there in the thick of things through Dan Marino's retirement until the Patriots came along.
So they have a rich history, and they're a very proud organization, and they show their pride when they play the Patriots.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, you think? So they're going to be geared up for that game. That's a pretty important ball game there.
Eric, is it possible we can talk a little RG3?
Yeah, hey, why not? Why not? RG3 and the Red Lobster, Mike Shanahan. Oh, that is. Well, I'll let you lead in, Perry. I'm sure you had some thoughts on that.
I do, man, because here the first thing that comes to my mind when Shanahan comes out and says he's going to pull RG3, and his reasoning is because he's taken so many hits. And I'm sitting here watching this press conference like, you've got to be joking. You want me to believe that you played this young man last year when he was on a half a leg.
Right.
And now you're trying to convince me that you're concerned about his overall health? Being a former offensive coordinator, I know that the best way for a quarterback to get reps, the best way for a quarterback to improve is to get reps. And you can't simulate game speed.
Absolutely not.
So why would you pull him out with 4 games left?
Oh, man, let me tell you something. Mike Shanahan, I think he's going to get fired, and Dan Snyder's going to have to pay him the $7 million at the end of this year, but in the meanwhile, Shanahan, let me tell you, if he doesn't coach next year, he has a job at acting, because Shanahan got there.
He did a great job.
He pulled a Bill Clinton, I did not have relations with that woman. Mike Shanahan, we're going to pull Robert Griffin out of concern for his health. He just lied with a smile. I mean, the Red Lobster, which almost turned pink, I think even he was starting to blush up, because that was priceless. I mean, that was mwah.
Eric, here's the other thing that's going through my mind. So you're going to pull this guy because he's taking too many hits. What's going through Kirk Cousins' mind?
Kirk Cousins like, okay, so let me think. The offensive line isn't playing very well. Robert Griffin's getting beaten up. It could shorten his career. It's bad for him in the organization. Oh, we're going to throw me out there. Throw the crap out there. Throw out the tackling dummy. Thanks, Coach.
That's exactly what went through my mind, man. Like, wow, Kirk Cousins has to feel really valuable right now.
Oh, man. Let me tell you, boys and girls. Listen to your old Uncle Eric, because I'm going to tell you what that really is what you see and what you hear. That was a giant middle finger from Mike Shanahan on the way out the door. He's butted heads with Robert Griffin. He's butted heads with Dan Snyder. So he's going to march Kirk Cousins out there, bench Griffin to Snyder's chagrin, and first of all, show the world how good Kirk Cousins is, or really just kind of light a fire and go on the bridge on the way out the door.
Right.
So, Shanahan, ooh, Lord.
So here's the question, though, here. If Kirk Cousins goes undefeated,
Right.
Who's the Redskins quarterback going into next year?
Right.
You know, it's like now you've really created a controversy. Maybe that makes one of them expendable. Maybe you can trade one. I don't know. But I do know that the reason you're benching Robert Griffin III or deactivating him, not just benching him, he's not going to be active.
Yeah, like I said, I think there's a lot of smoke screen on there. You know, you have some people, kind of like you said, Perry said, if Kirk Cousins comes in there, really looks sharp, how maybe Robert Griffin, RG3's time in D.C. could be limited. No. Robert Griffin, the guy at the very top, is Dan Snyder, and Dan Snyder has made it very clear he is sticking with RG3. They have a lot invested in him, and that's Dan Snyder's guy, and ultimately what the owner wants, the owner gets.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly. He's writing the checks.
Yeah, so Shanahan's going to get his $7 million on his way out the door. I mean, obviously Snyder doesn't want to fire him before the end of the year because he's going to have to pay him a lot, so he wants to get what he can get out of it and not just shovel the organization any further. But I really think that that's going to come... That situation will resolve itself soon. I think it's going to be a footnote.
You think Shanahan's done?
Oh, yeah, he's gone. I mean, I think coaching the Redskins. Now, I think he'll be, if he wants to coach, I think he might be a head coach next year just because he's won 2 Super Bowls, and definitely if he wants a coordinator's job, he can have it. But I think he's done in D.C.
Okay.
No getting around that.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and skip forward to a little bit more of the world of professional sports.
Okay.
There is a lot of, baseball fans. There is not a lot of baseball action on the diamond, but the stove is hot. I mean, really hot. And as in like the hot stove. Robinson Cano, who is definitely the grand prize of free agency in baseball this winter, signed a 10-year, $240 million deal with the Seattle Mariners. It's shocking because usually when the New York Yankees want to preserve a high-profile potential future Hall of Fame star, it's what the Yankees get what the Yankees want. That didn't happen this go-around, and I think there were some hurt feelings there. Prior to the Robinson Cano signing in Seattle, Jacoby Ellsbury, a center fielder for the previously with the Boston Red Sox, signed a 7-year, $153 million deal with the men in pinstripes, over $20 million a year. A lot of folks thought that was kind of lofty for him. He's a very good talent, bats almost 300 for his career, but steals a lot of bases, but has no power numbers. And of course, what baseball fans are thinking is, well, how are they going to sign Cano? There's only so much money. Even in Gotham, there's only so much money left in the tank.
That's right.
And Robinson Cano said he felt disrespected. They offered Ellsbury, has nowhere near the profile of Cano, $153 million, and meanwhile, all they offered Cano was the same number of years, 7 years, and $170 million. So only $17 million more, same number of years for a player who I think means far more, has done far more for the organization, and is a better talent. So he took his talents to the Pacific Northwest. The Seattle Mariners showed him respect, but with 10 years and $240 million, another $70 million, I'd feel pretty respected too, Perry.
I know that's right, man. And just wait till he goes back to the Bronx.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be a real picnic.
Right.
But that really ended kind of funny out there in New York. And the quote by Yankees president Randy Levine, and this I think threw gasoline on the fire. Quote, "Now, if it was Mike Trout, I'd offer him a 10-year contract, but for people over 30, I don't believe it makes sense."
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty harsh.
Well, it's that time, Eric.
Yes, sir, Rebobski. As we always say around, first of all, get ready for Noel Jackson, Music Satisfaction. As we always say around this time, have a good afternoon.
ADT, JNS, love you.
Protect us from the evil